Students, what's going on? It's Devlin Cassidy, aka the Scholar here, coming back at you guys with another deck profile. Today we're going to be going over premium prisms. I know I put a match up. There's more matches to follow soon, but I wanted to get this list up for you guys so that way if you guys still have your old V Premium Prism deck, you guys still want to get into premium, this is a great template and idea for you guys to get into premium. So without further ado, let's get started.
Wait. Before we get into today's video, I need to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, Kingslayer Cards. Go check out their website, which will be in the link in the description down below. And they provide all your TCG needs, especially for Cardfight Vanguard. And check out for the upcoming events that they'll be hosting throughout their schedule. Hope to see you guys at some of them.
So going into our grade 0, of course, we're just going to play our starter. This one's Shizuku. I had it because it's SP, so we're going to Shizuku for the starter. We're going to go with 4 copies of Prism Image Vert. So this is your main grade 3 of the deck. This is your primary ride target. For those that don't know what she does, she can Soul Blast 1 and bind a card with the Prism, with the heart icon, because I know there's some cards in Bermuda that have Prism in their card name, but are not Prism cards, if that makes sense. But she can bind the Prism archetypal name from the drop zone, and she gets a drive +1, but this is good because her on-attack skill lets her call cards with the Prism archetype name from the bind zone to the rearguard circle, and 2 prisms in this deck have skills when they're called from the bind zone. So this card is very good, very strong, and allows and enables you with our new Stride Heltrata to have an 8 attack premium combo that's helped facilitated by some older prism cards for you to have the resources to do it. But overall, card's really important, your main ride target, and your only really ride target in the deck, because our next card is 2 copies of Prism Duo Nectaria. So what she does is she has an act skill on when it's bound from hand. You can search your deck for up to 1 normal unit and bind it. So most of the time this card is facilitated as a 5th and 6th Rosa, because Rosa is a grade 2 that we'll be getting into next, but it's just really important for that card solely to be in the bind zone, so that way you have your high attack outlet and high numbers, so that way your attack turn is very, very lethal. But also it has a Vanguard and Rearguard skill of if there's a unit that shares its card name in the bind zone. So let's say like if you have this card, already have the Rosa set up, you can just bind this card and go search the next, and then call the 2 attacks with Vert. She gets 10k, and then if she's on Vanguard for whatever reason, she gets a drive +1 and a crit, but you really don't want that because I'd rather have more rearguard attacks on Vert. So, but definitely the extra 10k helps, especially if the Nectaria is on the force marker. 34k is nothing to scoff at. Headed into our grade 2s, we have 4 copies of Rosa. Rosa's skill is when placed counter blast 1, look at the 7 cards from the top of your deck. You can reveal up to 2 cards with Prism in their card name, and you can bind one of them and add one of them to your hand. So this helps you find your ride consistency, since you're only playing 4 grade 3s that you want to ride. And when she's placed from bind zone, like I said, she gives the front row units with Prism in their card name 10k, so she will pump up whatever the Vert calls off its on swing, allowing you to fully fulfill your combo. And so this card, for a good reason, is such good consistency, makes your numbers better. No wonder reason why this card got banned in V. So this card's very important to your archetype, and you definitely want to ride this card. Then next we play 3 copies of Top Idol Aqua. This is just to bounce cards to your hand and draw cards, so you can replay your on place effects and stuff if you've activated them last turn, which will go in tandem in the next card. But then it also gets 5k if you have another unit in the same column as it. So it's just overall very good card, very good generic card. Definitely Bermuda Triangle wants it, and so since we have this place to play it, we're very V+. Definitely play 3 Aqua and maximize your opportunity to abuse the card. Speaking of abusing cards, we're playing 3 copies of Lizelette. This card is super free. It gives you free call, and potentially in the weird situation where you run out of soul, I guess. But just free calling, being able to extend more, give columns better numbers is very strong, allowing you to aggro rush on your grade 1 turn. Being able to call a grade 2 get down and potentially get another unit to the board, just plussing just by calling this card is insane. Lizelette definitely is a very strong card, and definitely is still relevant in today's meta. Then we play one copy of this promo. If you played in any Springfest this past season, you definitely have this card. And it's very sought after, but it only has an only Vanguard skill, but it's still important just because of how much you can filter and go through this deck. You win place, counterblast one, soul blast one, you check the top 3 cards of your deck, you call one, add one to hand, and then put one on the bottom of your deck. So this can, just hit better cards early, you can hit leads a lot, and it just makes, your grade 2 turns better. It was a 5th ride target that I thought the deck needed, but you definitely want to be calling, you want to be playing the Rosa if you can, so that way you have it bound and you have the access to it in the soul to bind it off the vert if you have to ride up. So definitely a very important card, but this card's really good utility and plus. Another utility card we're playing is one copy of Sierra. So when she's placed on Vanguard or Rearguard, you can discard a card, and you look at the 3 cards from the top of your deck, and you choose up to 1 card from among them, put it into your hand, and then you put the rest on the bottom of your deck. And then if she gets 5k, but if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, she gets 10k. So gets better numbers, lets you filter your hand. Just overall very good card. And then last but not least, we're playing Yes, the Pearl Sister. So this is the grade 2 Pearl Sister. So when it sees the grade 1 Pearl Sister, which I can pull out now, these both gain power and a crit. So in tandem with having these on the field and then having a Heltrata, if you're not playing in retire focus matchups, these cards allow you to just put out an insane amount of aggro, 30k on its own and then 26k on its own, both with crit, and you can swing these twice on a Heltrata turn. It's just 4 damage each is represented, so you kind of force your opponent to guard these attacks. And then onto our grade 1s, we're playing 4 copies of Prism Image Clear. When placed, you look at 7 cards from the top of your deck, reveal to 1 grade 2 or greater card with Prism in its card name, and you add it to hand. So this can search the Rosa, the Nectaria, and the Vert. Primarily, you want to hit Rosa or Vert, just so that way, you're doing the ride chain and you're getting all your Prism skills that you want to consistently. But when she's placed from the bind zone, you can bind a card with Prism in its card name from your drop zone. You get to draw a card, and then she gets 10k. So obviously, she becomes a beater on her own. And it's just really, really strong. Clear is definitely a good deck card for this deck, and just helps you facilitate your engine even more. And then defensively, there was 2 options we were thinking about going. I was talking with Jonathan Owens a lot about this list. He was playing the overdress card that's a 3k power grade 1, but on place you can choose one to use and give it 10k, which really helps in the kind of defensive light where you can combo it with Citron and give your Vanguard that free defensive. It's very powerful, especially for the rest of the turn. But I kind of liked this engine, just having with the Mermaid Idol Ellie's, just being able to be able to recycle pieces, obviously be able to filter out a PG, but make your attacks potentially force your opponent to guard, because its on hit is so powerful, especially once they know that this PG is there. You're kind of forcing your opponent into the spot where maybe you want to force them to guard because they don't want you to grab this PG, so that way they have a shot to kill you on the follow-up turn. This is very strong because it still cards out of their hand. And so, they kind of have to begin to respect the columns that Ellie's in, because then if she just goes and grabs her V-Series counterpart, the 20k, really strong. So definitely, I love this ratio split. It frees up a slot in our trigger zone, but if this was going to be the Overdress Girl, it was going to be 3 Overdress Girl and 1 Elementaria Sanctitude. If that is the play you rather go, by all means, go ahead. And then for our last grade 1, this is the old Prism support. This is Prism Promise Princess Lynette. When this card is returned to hand, and your Vanguard is a card with Prism in its card name, you can countercharge 1, soul charge 1, and you can choose a unit, give it 4k, and then you cannot normal call it. So if I call this, and call it Aqua, and Aqua targets to bounce it back to hand, and I use its skill, I cannot normal call it, but I can superior call it. So Heltrata does let you dodge this. So in a way, you can funnily loop the 1 CB if your opponent if you don't think your opponent's going to pop this card. This card is really strong, helps you facilitate your whole Heltrata combo, and this card is really the key piece of the deck that holds the bread and butter together, just because it facilitates you all of your resources that you'll need. Then for our triggers, playing 4 Stride Crit, we want to stride, Heltrata, I keep talking about the card, but it's so good. You want to be able to straight up just go into it, so definitely 4 Stride Crit to enable that. 3 Soul Crit, these just draw cards, get you more to your combo pieces, and then crits win games, so obviously being able to do 8 attacks, just being able to give crits to units is strong. 3-draw PG, since we're playing the one old grade 1 PG when the Mermaid Idol Ellie, so it freed us up some room. 1 crook, because still this enables a multi-attack on its own, so there's a reason this card's limited at 1. This card is so good. So just, you know, having to be able to swing the extra time, especially if this is behind like a Pearl Sisters turn, being able to swing the Pearl Sisters total of 5 times together is really nice. So again, this card, have to respect it. 4 of the Heal Guardian. This card is just important to, you know, not die. If you're facing a mirror, they're going to try to rush you down on the grade 3 turn, which is just, you know, insane. Having the 4 attack turn on grade 3 is still strong. Being able to push your opponent since you're so aggressive naturally. So, and then, you know, being able to G-guard, still important. And then 1 of the Lyrical Monasterio over trigger. This card is insane, especially the earlier in the game you check it. Just having your rear guards be 10k bigger for the rest of the game is insane. And then if you have boosters, just 20k to the column naturally. It's just so good. Onto our G-Zone, 2 Heltrata. So this card is the card that facilitates Prism's standard now 8 attack combo in premium, because, you know, they decided to print Bermuda Triangle that needed a next stage. So for those that don't know what this card does, you can discard 3 cards from your hand, return all other cards on your circles other than Vanguard to hand. You choose up to 2 cards from your hand and you call them to rear guard. So you're able to bounce your whole field, choose 2 cards from hand and call them. And then you perform her drive checks, and then at the end of that battle, you can counterblast 1, soul blast 1. Again, why the line net is important. And then you just put her into G-Zone and restand your Vanguard, so you restand the vert that you're on. And so this again allows you to swing the cards you called, swing vert, you bounce those cards you called off of the Heltrata to hand, and then you call your 2 Prisms from Bind Zone. And so you go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Standard 8 attack combo, just so good, so free. It's just high value, high output, high damage. For our, you know, kind of removal matchups, you know, we're facing a lot of Narukami right now, and then, you know, Grand Blue obviously has the Denial Griffin play if they're able to set up the Cannoneer, the Lily, and the Beatrice. So definitely being able to call cards during the battle phase from deck, and not just being limited to like cards that call from hand, and, you know, being able to put, even though you'll most of the time only be able to call 2 because we're not a Harmony focused deck and we're not Highlander, but Shandy's still a good card, and I definitely would recommend you playing her, even though Heltrata like 9 times out of 10 is the card you're going to be striding into. Then we're playing 3 copies of Tirawa. This is just your basic restander. Again, if you're facing like removal matchups and you think that you're going to be able to restand, this card's just still strong. This card is just a generic flip all your cards with Choo Choo in the front row, which will only be her, get 5k for every one of your open circles. So you can low-key kind of punish your opponent for removing your board early. It makes the Vanguard bigger. If they especially like double impede your board, they're giving her 20k unknowingly. And then at the GB3, you can take 3 of your rear guards, return them back to deck, and then restand her. So again, then she naturally powers herself up by 15k. If you put her, if like there's a force marker on her on the re-ride, this card's just really ridiculous, really strong. There's like the reason like every Bermuda Triangle deck still plays her. 1 Anj, even though like Heltrata now kind of helps solve our issue with Link Joker, I think this card's still important just because you're able to, you know, bounce your opponent's untargetable cards. Like, you know, this helps kind of in the Tachikaze matchup with Sweeper, them reducing their damage output and just resetting turns of work that they've put on their sweepers. It's really too strong not to deny. And then she gets extra drive checks and power. Anj still definitely really, I think you should really still be playing this card if you have the room in your G-Zone. And then 1 Elprina, she's just a basic, you know, like if we get like hard damage denied and we don't see the line net and we don't have like the heal guard, like this card is just able to freely bounce cards to hands for a soul blast. So, you know, bouncing the Lizelets and the Aquas just to get more like on place value is really strong. So, you know, she's kind of like when everything goes wrong, but still a very solid and respectable stride. 1 Balanarena, this is like kind of your finisher if Heltrata's not doing enough, is where she, you know, just if you have grade 1 or grade 0s, and they place a card on the Guardian Circle, you can discard a grade 1 or grade 0 and snipe it, and it's just really strong. So just being able to retire Guardians, get free stride later if somehow the turn passes, just cards overall, I still think respectable and definitely still wanted to be played in Bermuda Triangle. For our G cards, we play 2 Shandy. This is our biggest G guard. You know, you average about like 8-9 cards in hand after you finish. So just, you know, a free plus 20 is like really good. And then if you need to bump her up by 5k, she has that flip skill, so definitely Shandy's like really good. Have two hand-in-hand Leona. Just bouncing your cards back to hand that you have on board is a better way to do it than Dismal and then like, you know, like guard attacks. So this card's like definitely very good, but like I can see you obviously cutting it, especially if you're going the route of wanting to do the power gameplay with the Lyrical Monasterio girl. Her name keeps escaping me, I don't know why, but it would definitely become a second Citron. But for now, this card works out. It's good, so we play it. And then one copy of Citron, just because, you know, there's some times where like, especially in like the superior ride versions of Narukami where they play the Zuiton, you can deny the Zuiton for arenas if they run out of soul. You can call the card to the front row and then like negate the Zuiton, so that way like they can't rescind their Verena Esperidia as another card like this. Like Citron's just really free, just being able to gain shield just for calling the card, and then like, you know, abusing a card that has a non-play skill that gets you more card advantage is just really strong. So definitely like play Citron. Last but not least is our new G-Guard. This is Diva of Sensation Lucreci. Her skill is kind of +1 and return a normal unit to our hand, and then you perform the following effect based on the grade of the card. If it's 2 or less, she just gets 15k, she becomes 30k shield, but if it's a 3 or more, then you give your Vanguard 5k until the end of the turn. So even though it doesn't seem like much, you know, 5k is very like a good number because it beats like the 14k pokes and the 17k pokes a lot of Oxel decks force out, so it's just like cool. I don't have to worry about these attacks, conserve hand, so definitely a card you want to be well equipped in your G-Zone with. But I think that's going to do it all for today. Of course, you guys just want to go for your gift types. I don't know, I'll go over it. It's like we don't really go into the Force 2s, even though like those are the nicer markers I have. But you know, Force 1 is definitely the way you guys want to be going for this deck, and it's definitely worth you know, just getting your numbers higher so that way your attacks are more pressure, more cards out of your hand for your opponent. And so that's gonna do it for today, guys. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. I will hope you guys are having a wonderful day, and I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week. I love y'all. Until next time, take care.